MBTI, or Myers-Briggs Typology Indicator, is a useful tool for understanding oneself, one's relationships, and one's direction of personal growth. Unfortunately, a lot of information on MBTI superficially relies on stereotypes. The INTJ and INFP Water series will provide a deeper breakdown of MBTI, so you can type accurately and understand thoroughly. MBTI explains your cognition, which is how you process information. It does not and cannot predict how you consciously behave, though it can predict subconscious microexpressions in body language, for which we have a separate video series. Although some behaviors come more naturally to certain types, everyone is capable of learning new behaviors, which renders any correlations between MBTI type and behavior as non-predictive. MBTI instead illuminates how your mental processes are shaped by the nature of your cognition. Any type can have any thoughts and behaviors, but the process of arriving at such thoughts and behaviors varies greatly between personality types. It's these mental processes, the structure of your cognition, that determines your MBTI type. We all process information in two ways, perceiving and judging. Perceiving is the process of taking in information from the external world and compiling it in our minds internally. Judging is the process of evaluating that information on either internal or external criteria. We perceive information both by noticing the information or data itself and the conceptual implications behind the data. We judge information both by logical or rational criteria and value-based or ethical criteria. These are the four modes of cognition that every type and every person has: sensing, intuition, thinking, and feeling. These four modes also exist in two orientations, either introverted or extroverted, thus forming the 8 cognitive functions, the theoretical backbone of MBTI. Every type has 4 functions in descending order, although other systems such as socionics theorize that each type uses all 8 functions, 4 of them subconsciously. The position of each cognitive function in the function stack corresponds to how much the person prefers to use said function, although this can vary slightly from individual to individual, and is perhaps influenced by one's environment or other factors. The different combinations of these functions give rise to the 16 types. Let's explore the nature of each one, starting with the perceiving functions. SE is Extroverted Sensing. SE perceives and reacts to objects in the external world in the present, externalized from oneself and one's subjectivity. It is objective and sees things as they are in physical reality. It sees all data and takes it all into account. It is also exploratory and sees possibilities in what could be done with this objective data. It is action-oriented and needs to experience things for itself in order to perceive. SI is Introverted Sensing. SI perceives objects in the external world, but immediately forms an impression of the object based on past impressions of the same and similar objects. SI reacts not to the object itself in the external world, but to one's subjective impression of the object in the internal world. It functions by building personal associations to data, often shaping the data subjectively. Thus, it is far more selective and consistent, seeking out data that has meaning to the user. SI is able to sift through internal composites of data and notice details and build further associations. It can integrate others' knowledge that rings true to the user without first-hand experience. Moving on to intuition. NE is Extroverted Intuition. NE sees multiple possible implications and concepts behind objects and impressions of objects, and reacts to them in the external world. NE is expansive and sees each data point as a springboard for multiple concepts. Like SE, NE is objective and holds no preferences, seeing all possibilities as equally real. It is also exploratory in nature, seeing potential connections between data. It is again action-oriented, needing to externalize thoughts in order to make its connections. NI is Introverted Intuition. NI does not react to possible concepts behind objects in the external world, but rather one's subjective understanding of those concepts in the internal world. NI is integrative and connects relevant data points to form a holistic understanding of trends or concepts. Like SI, it is subjective, seeing only the patterns that make sense to the user. It is also more thorough and holistic, being able to delve into the perceived trends and find further connections. Being reflective, it can integrate others' concepts that ring true to the user without the process of forming it for themselves. Every person either has both SE and NI, or both SI and NE. They always come in those pairs. Thus, you either see data objectively and exploratively, and trends subjectively and thoroughly, or data subjectively and thoroughly, and trends objectively and exploratively. SENI and SINE comprise the two perceiving axes. Now let's move on to the judging functions, starting with Extroverted Thinking, or TE. TE decides what is and isn't logical based on external criteria, thus being outcome-focused. It is effective and objective in that it uses logical systems that are or can be externally proven. It is less efficient in that it has a more rudimentary understanding of logic based on what can be observed, and may have to learn logical principles through a lengthier process of trial and error. TI is Introverted Thinking. TI creates a logical model of the world in the user's mind. It is holistic, seeking to understand every working part of an entire interconnected logical system. It may be initially more time-consuming as it is seeking underlying logical principles rather than immediate logical applications, but ultimately will be more efficient when something is understood, due to how consistent and integrative it is. However, it is less effective than TE due to its detachment from the external world. Moving on to feeling, FE is Extroverted Feeling. FE judges the merit of values based on their effect upon feelings and sentiments in the external world. FE uses external values to affect others. Like TE, FE decides what is and isn't of value based on external criteria, being outcome-focused. It is effective and objective in that it uses external value systems to convey its intent so that the intended recipients will feel it. It is less efficient in that it only picks up on any consistencies in their and others' needs through trial and error. FI is Introverted Feeling. FI judges the merit of values based on one's subjective feelings and sentiments in the internal world. FI decides what is of value to the user based on subjective criteria. Like TI, it is thorough and holistic, seeking to understand the depths and intricacies of the user's values and desires. Again, initially more time-consuming as it is seeking underlying personal ethical principles rather than immediate emotional affect, it will ultimately be more efficient once something is understood, as it'll give rise to consistency in the user's expressions. However, it's less effective at communicating its desires or affecting others. Every person either has both TE and FI, or both TI and FE. They always come in those pairs. Thus, you either make logical decisions based on external objective criteria, and value-based decisions based on consistent subjective criteria, or you make logical decisions based on consistent subjective criteria and value-based decisions based on external objective criteria. TEFI and TIFE comprise the two judging axes. Now you have a brief overview on the 8 cognitive functions, but how does that form your 4-letter MBTI type? Every person resides on either one of each perceiving and judging axes, giving the 4 cognitive functions that make up their type. The order of these functions, from strongest to weakest, determines the type. The axis pairs will always be either the first and fourth function or the second and third function. To break the letter code down, I stands for introversion, E for extroversion, S for sensing, N for intuition, T for thinking, F for feeling, P for perceiving, and J for judging. The first 2 functions determine the middle 2 letters in the MBTI type code, either NT, NF, ST, and SF. This denotes our primary or strongest mode of perceiving and our primary or strongest mode of judging. I or E is determined by the orientation of the first function, and thus our primary mode of functioning, either internally or externally. P or J is determined by whether your first extroverted function is a perceiving function, either N or S, or a judging function, either T or F. Now that we've explained the system of MBTI as a whole, next time we'll delve into the cognitive functions in greater depth. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more videos. If you enjoy our content, please consider pledging your support on Patreon. This enables us to keep making videos for you guys, and we would appreciate it so much. Thanks. See you next time.